Hello everyone, welcome to Amy and Larry's Kitchen. For today we're going to try something that once again I have never tried to make, and it's going to be a quick homemade cheese bread. It's called. Technically in one way it'll be like cheese sticks like you get at the pizza place. So what I have done already, just to help speed up the process a little bit, is that I needed to get 1 cup of warm water and put 1 teaspoon of yeast and 1/2 teaspoon of sugar in it and let it sit. Stir it up and let it sit for about 5 to 10 minutes until the top of it is foamy, which I know you may not be able to tell right now, but it is foamy. I went ahead and preheated my oven to 400 degrees, and now we are going to see what happens. I'm going to make a change or two to the recipe just for convenience sake, rather than following it exactly. And one of the things is I needed 2.5 cups of flour, and it said to add a well, let's start with this part first. I have to add 1 teaspoon of salt, which I've got my teaspoon here and I've got my salt here. So I'm going to pour 1 teaspoon of salt into this, just like that. And it said to use 1 tablespoon of olive oil. We don't use olive oil. I'm going to use canola oil instead. So I'm going to get, there'll be 2 of these teaspoonfuls equals 1 tablespoon. So there's the first one, and here's the second one. Alright, so I'm going to stir that up a minute. Make sure it's mixed up real good. Now the other thing it said to do was to add this mixture of yeast, warm water, sugar, salt to 1/2 cup of flour at a time. Well, I've got all of my flour already in the bowl, so what I'm going to do is just slowly add the mixture of yeast water to the flour as I gently stir it. Mix it in real good. I don't think this will have much of an effect on the outcome, because the main reason you're doing it, I have a cup of flour and then pouring some of this liquid in, is to make sure that it gets mixed up real good. So we're going to continue to do that. Mix it in real good. Anytime you're doing these recipes, you don't have to follow them exactly. If you have some other ideas or things you want to try, then feel free to do that and see how it turns out. I would imagine that's how it came about when the first person ever tried to make these and put together a recipe. They just experimented to see what works best. So we have just about got all of our mixture mixed in to the flour. So let me continue to stir this for a little bit, and then I'm going to do something else a little bit different than what the recipe calls for. Okay, now I've got that yeast water mixed in with the flour, and it says at this time go ahead and take the flour out of the bowl, put it on a powdered board, and roll it out. Well, before you put it into the oven, you are supposed to sprinkle some cheese over the top of it, thus the name cheese bread. Well, I think what I'm going to do is I went ahead and grated up about 1.5 cups to 2 cups of this is Monterey cheese. You can use cheddar cheese, you can use mozzarella cheese, Parmesan cheese, whatever you have. I'm going to take some of this and sprinkle it into the ingredients now, and then we will save the rest of it to sprinkle on the bread before we put it into the oven. So let's go ahead and try and mix all this in real good. Like I said, I don't know how well this will work. In fact, I think I'm at the point now where I might need to use my hands, because this is pretty thick batter. And I don't know if you can hear my birds in the background, but they're just tickled to death to be alive this morning. And they are happy and chirping, which is the sound I like to hear. Alright, so what I'm going to do, in a minute I'm going to go ahead and press that together a little bit with my hands to make it mix in better. But before I do that, I'm going to sprinkle a little bit of flour out here on the cutting board so I can roll the dough out, flatten it out before we put it in our pan. So we'll move this over here out of the way, and I'm going to take my hands and just mix it all in real good. Sometimes you just got to get your hands involved when you're making a recipe to get it to come out right, especially if you're doing bread like this, or maybe making a meatloaf. That's the best way to mix everything together. Now, I guess you could say this is going to be extra cheesy bread. I don't know, but we're going to find out. Alright, now I'm going to take this, take it out of the bowl, and I'm going to set it right here in the flour. And I'm just going to sit here and knead this bread, as they call it, I guess, for a little bit to mix everything in real good. I can feel the cheese that I put in there, which is not a problem. We're just going to continue to do this for a minute, play with it, and we'll see what happens. Like I say, it may not turn out exactly like the original recipe, and it may not be as pretty as they would make it, but you know what counts is how it tastes. Alright, so I'm going to take this right now, and I'm going to take my rolling pin, put a little bit of this flour on it, and I am going to roll this dough out best I can on this cutting board, just nice and gently. It's not very big, but it'll be big enough to get the job done. See what we can do here. If you see lumps in this right now, that's because that is most likely the cheese that I added into the batter, which that part's going to melt as it cooks. So you can imagine how good that's going to be. Now, I really can't roll this out too much more because of the size of my cutting board, and not to mention the size of the pan that I'm going to be putting it in. So, what I'm going to do is take my pan, And as you can tell, it's one of our favorite pans. It's well used. I'm going to spray some canola oil in the pan so that it doesn't stick, hopefully. Alright, now we're going to try and take this dough that we've got and move it over to the pan. We shall do the best that we can. There we go, just like that. And I'm going to take my hand and maybe see if I can't flatten this out a little bit more so that it's not real thick, because it's going to rise anyway. Alright, now I am going to take, tell you what, let me get some butter out of the fridge. I'm going to take some butter and spread that right over the cheese dough, and that'll help give it a golden brown. Plus, you can't beat butter on any type of bread. This just came out of the fridge, so it's a little bit stiff. But we're going to spread some of it out. One more time. Let's see what we got here. There we go. And you know, if you have to, you can take your fingers and spread this out all over the bread. But we're going to try it this way. There we go. Not too bad. Alright, now I'm going to take my leftover mozzarella cheese and I'm just going to sprinkle it right on top. Just like that. Almost like making a pizza. I'm not going to overdo it because this should be enough, and basically the excess cheese will just run over onto the pan and be wasted. We'll save the rest of this for the next batch that we make. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go ahead and put this in the oven, probably for about 15 minutes, and then we'll pull it out and we'll let you take a look at it and see how it turned out. So we'll be back in just a minute. Everybody, it's been about 15 minutes, maybe just a little bit more. Let's see what it looks like. I'm not guaranteeing anything. This is the first time I have made this. So let's take a look at it and see. It looks good. We'll have to try and cut some of that and see what it looks like. Let me turn the oven off here. And I've got a pizza cutter here. Now what I'm going to do, first of all, let me make sure that it didn't stick. And whenever you take a pan like this out of the oven, we've all done it, please be careful. You tend to forget that it's sitting in a oven at several hundred degrees, and the next thing you know, you're grabbing a hold of it, and you'll learn real quick that you shouldn't. I've done that before. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to start right over here, and I'm going to cut this into little strips about what I'd say breadstick size. Get this back over. It wants to slide on me a little bit, which it should, because that means it's not sticking to the pan. Right along the edges, it's a little bit tougher than the center part, which is to be expected. Let's take one of these and just take a look at it and see. We'll grab this one. So we've got, I don't know if you can really tell that much about it, but we've got a nice brown coating on the top. We've got cheese on the top. We've got the dough, and we've got cheese mixed into the middle. So I'd say we got a winner here. We're going to try it in just a minute, see how it is. Now, if you want to take some pizza sauce or whatever to dip it in, feel free to do so. And, or even, excuse me, even a little bit of butter. You could do that also. But anyway, we hope you enjoyed the video. And I know some of you might make yours a little bit differently. So, hey, feel free to let us know how you do it. And if you do try it, let us know how it was. Hit the like button if you haven't already. Subscribe to our channel. We try and make things a couple times a week. Not going to guarantee you that they always come out the way that we hope they do or should, but we do our best. So thanks for watching, and we'll catch you on the next video.